Okay, let me just move this. Okay. What about this?
That's a bit better. So what I'd really like to just talk about is how you got to where you are now, what your business is, what it does, just all of those questions really.
I worked at a law firm as a lawyer or solicitor. Well, it's different, our system here, but I did that for over 10 years. I worked at a few different law firms, including like the top tier firms here in the Netherlands. And I specialized in liability and insurance and financial law, so very corporate environments. I noticed that when dealing with a lot of complex information and communication, I needed to use some kind of visualizations to understand what I was dealing with. I also had some questions about how I, as a lawyer, was serving clients. And I decided to just draw visualizations and made sketches of the structures or the case at hand. And after a couple of years, I decided to just use it for any kind of communication, send it to my clients, send it to court. And after 10 years also, I was kind of tired of being the person that always wants to be innovative and change things. And I'm a maker and I question things. So I always so why do we do this? Is this the best way to do this? Who are we serving? Are we serving that person well? So in the end, I decided that taking a more client and a human-centered approach to law and doing that by making as I call them, clarifying visualizations. So I design visuals for the legal services, legal industry, that was my future. And that's why I started my business, Aclara Legal Design. So that's everything wrapped up in once.
Making that transition, it sounds very simple, but actually there's a lot involved. It's a big decision to make, leaving the comfort and security of employment and corporate law. What sort of went through your mind at the time? What were the pros and cons of setting out on your own, and how did you kind of find the courage to take that jump?
It kind of happened in steps. I think the last job switch that I did, I decided to work 4 days a week instead of 5. If I spent 50 to 60 hours a week doing legal work at a law firm, I have no energy or inspiration left to be creative outside of my job. And I think that was an important step, because you're leaving money on the table. It was a realization that my creativity was part of who I am and what makes me happy. That was an important first step for me. And in the end, I just hit a wall working at the law firm I worked at. It could have happened somewhere else too, but I was just the billable hour environment, the competitiveness, but also the academic nature, and not really feeling like you're really helping someone. These factors really cost me a lot of energy. I got completely burnt out, basically. So I realized that during that time, it's what were the things of my job, the moments or tasks or people, what gave me most joy in my work. And I knew it was the relationship I had with my clients. It's making something that could also be drafting a court document, but making something from within myself, and also always looking for ways to do it better, not in terms of money or hours or whatever, but in helping people in a better way. So I thought, okay, legal design, I think that's what I need to do, because I thought it was so useful to use visual communication in my legal services. And if I think it's a good idea, I think there are other people out there who would feel the same. But I had never started a business. I had no idea in terms of business plans, pricing, market research, nothing. I was like, this is what I want to do, and I'll figure it out. Sometimes also people ask me, how did you know that legal design was going to be something that people wanted? I was like, I didn't. I just thought I thought it was a good idea, and I worked as a lawyer for 10 years, so I think I kind of know what the industry is like, and I think that so many people agree that a lot of things need change, and this is one way to start basically, and to work in a different way.
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree. And I think certainly at Stevenson Law, we work really hard to try and communicate with our clients in a much simpler, effective, jargon-free way. But, you know, when you kind of started on this journey, I mean, legal design is a bit of a buzzword at the moment. It is used a lot. I'm not sure that every time it's used, people fully understand what they're talking about.
No.
But is there any kind of formal training available for anyone interested in legal design, or you know, you kind of made it yourself, developed your skills and your interest from your job? But for somebody who's kind of new to legal design, is there anything that they can do to find out more or to train up on it?
It really depends. So what is legal design basically? And it still kind of depends on who you ask what legal design is. I think it's a domain where the legal industry and the design will come together. But design is typically something, I think, like designer clothes or design, I don't know, any product in your house, or like a glamorous magazine or something. But that's the outside. Like that's not, that design is actually so, and how designers work is more about who's the user, what are the user needs, so what does someone need from a specific product or service, and the visual is just the outside of that product or that service. So I decided to take like a design approach and design thinking, and like design thinking is something that like anyone can just look buy so many books of and do courses if you look for design thinking. But like for me, my focus, my service, what I deliver my clients are visualizations. So for me, the main focus was graphic design and information design, and that meant just doing all kinds of like training, graphic design, starting at the basis, like designing posters and logos, how to work with clients on a design project, etc. So I did like 2.5 years of all kinds of courses. I would recommend that to someone who really wants to be a visual designer and working in legal design. But if you want to start working in legal design in the sense that you want to do design sprints with clients, like focusing on service design or the user experience design in general, you can work together with designers. Like if you're a lawyer, you don't necessarily have to be a lawyer, have to be a designer yourself. Just to explain that it's like a big field, and there can be many different roles in it, and really depends on what type of role someone would like to have. And you know, there are trainings. You can look up like Legal Creatives. That's a platform for learning creative and design techniques, like legal design techniques. They have all kinds of trainings, but there aren't many platforms yet where you can do any official training in legal design.
So give me an example of a sort of a piece of work that you would do.
At the moment, I'm involved in a project where we're designing some manuals with like internal guidelines for a big corporation, and the design project involves doing lots of like interviews with people involved, so the stakeholders. So first phase is about asking a lot of questions, doing interviews with people, like what do they need from this resource? And then we'll start working on text, and a lot of legal text has too much jargon, but also is not really written to be read very well. So it's usually even lawyers that are good at writing usually don't adjusting their language so anyone can understand. And even if you're very experienced with legal documentation, it makes your day just better if something is easy to understand. So even for very professional, experienced people, that's an improvement. So we work on interviews, research, we work on text, and then we work on the information architecture. So we structure the information, we determine the hierarchy of the information, always with the focus on what the recipient of the information needs from it. And that's usually a bit different from how traditional lawyers work. Like, you never start with definitions. In legal, yes, but in a user-centered way, no one wants to read definitions.
That's a really good point, because you look at them and you've got no idea what context they're being used in.
So only, I think, halfway through the project, we actually start making visualizations. The rest is research, interviews. And after the first design, I send it to my client, and then we get user feedback. So that's already the point where you get actual feedback from the people that are, the stakeholders, the people that are actually the recipients of the information. And then you iterate, and that process repeats itself like 2 or 3 times. Yeah. So it's this whole process, and the end result looks pretty, hopefully, yes. But that's just on the surface. So the deeper layer is really a result that helps the recipient of the information, and with that it improves communication and relationships.
Yeah. So it's not just about prettifying a document, it's about the substance of the document itself as well.
Yes.
So how long has Aclara been running?
Just over 2 years ago. Yeah.
Okay. And how's it going?
Yeah. It's going very well. Yes, it's been quite a roller coaster, to be honest. Legal design services are really in demand, so I've been really busy ever since the first day I started. It's really exciting because I love having my own business and just making all the decisions myself. Sometimes I get super stressed and I cry, but most of the time I just love making things and helping people, making my own money. I also like the role of someone that escaped traditional law, because to be honest, at some point I thought, okay, I'm just gonna focus on information design, and that can be my ticket out of the legal industry, despite all my years of training and all my hard work. But this is just such an unhealthy work environment. And what I actually noticed, I don't know if you have the same experience, that when I started doing this, setting up this business, I met so many different people in the legal industry. And I was like, oh, there are really cool people out there, really innovative, and people who want to do things differently and have so many different roles, and roles that I didn't even know existed. So within just a short amount of time, I realized, no, I don't need to leave the legal industry as a designer. I can actually, even if my business is successful enough, I want to be in the legal industry.
Yeah, I completely agree. I've just met so many amazing people in the last few years, obviously yourself included, just doing so many exciting, interesting things that I just weren't even on my radar. And it's not all about conventional law. There are so many other options available.
Lawyers can get really stressed.
Yeah.
They have a lot of responsibility. They have a lot of lawyers have very responsible and stressful jobs. And I think in the more the innovative spectrum of legal industry, which I consider myself in, and you too, I guess, that mindset is a bit different, I think. So I didn't know whether I could be successful with a legal design business when I started. I was like, what's the worst that can happen? When it's not successful, I'll just go back to working as a lawyer, or I'll find something else. Like, it's not, what have you got to lose, right?
Yeah, 100%. If you don't try, then you don't know.
You know Pippi Longstocking?
Yes.
Well, she had this expression like, I've never done it before, so I think I could do it.
Wow.
And I like that. So yeah, so I'm basically like, I've never done it, so I think I can do it.
I love that. That's going to be one of my new favorite quotes, I think.